Divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book that elites have used for centuries in order to control the public and ensure that their stature, their power is never truly challenged. And what is disappointing is that era after era, although the circumstances and context of that divide and conquer continues to change, the masses, we keep falling for it over and over again. And right now, we live in an era where the elites have perhaps their most powerful tool to date to divide and conquer us, and that is algorithms, social media, the internet. The way that they have tweaked these algorithms, not just to maximize profit, but to ensure that we are consistently at each other's throats, growing more and more angry by the day, hating each other, becoming more tribal, more paranoid, more conspiratorial, is disgusting, and it's something we all need to become more aware of, and we need to deprogram ourselves from the damage that these algorithms have done to almost all of us, all right? None of us are safe from this. I've certainly been a victim of it. You watching this, you've certainly been a victim from it. And it's something that we need to start being more vocal about and fighting back against. Now, obviously, this is top of mind for me, given the whole Charlie Kirk situation. I did another video on that recently. I want to reiterate that although I'm on the left, I think his killing is horrific. I feel horrible for him, his family, his children. Even though, again, we don't need to go over it. I went over it last video. I vehemently disagreed with much of his rhetoric. Doesn't matter. I also am a strong believer in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I believe without it, you can't have a democracy, you can't have a civilized society, you can't have true freedom. And if you only want to hear speech that you agree with or that you think is within a certain window of respectability, well, guess what? It's always a slippery slope, because as soon as you start censoring or saying that some speech is acceptable or unacceptable, well, who ends up deciding that at the end of the day? Eventually, those same standards will come for you. So on a human level, what happened to Charlie was terrible. On a principled and ideological level, anybody who is a free speech advocate, who is in favor of free speech, it's even more disgusting what happened to him. Now, one thing I also want to say is that although the killer has supposedly been caught, allegedly it's this Tyler Robinson fellow, I think that anybody at all on any side of the aisle for any reason, anybody who's jumping to conclusions about why he's done this, what side he was on, there's developed this whole fight where the right is saying, oh, this guy was a leftist, he was radicalized by one semester in college, he was, representing the entire liberal democratic side coming at Charlie for his conservative views. And then on the left, you have people saying, oh, he's from a MAGA family, he was a groyper, he was actually even further right than Charlie Kirk and killed him because he thought Charlie wasn't far right enough. We don't know. Anybody who's making these assumptions at this point, and I've seen it even from many pundits and people I respect, I think it's short-sighted. I also think it's a conversation where we're missing the point. We're once again letting tribalism divide us. We're letting these algorithms divide us. We're letting this left, right, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, socialist, fascist, whatever you want to label the sides of the spectrum, whatever you want to label the ideologies, nationalist, progressive, whatever these divisions are that we've created for ourselves. And yes, many of them represent true disagreements we have, and that's something we have to grapple with as a democratic, free society, and how do we all live together when we have really drastically opposing views on key issues. But the point is, we've let this tribalism consume us so much that in the wake of this, our main response isn't, let's cool the temperature, let's bring the rhetoric down, let's try to create a culture where political violence is much less acceptable, much less at the fever pitch that we're currently at of these political tensions where political violence seems inevitable. I'm not just talking about Charlie, I'm talking about the Minnesota House Speaker who was killed, Governor Shapiro, his house being firebombed, the plan to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, Steve Scalise being shot. It's happening everywhere on all sides of the aisle, and the country, America, is at a fever pitch, and instead of bringing the temperature down, we're still pointing fingers like, actually, this guy was on the right. No, he was on the left. Like, that's all people want to do is just pin it on the other side. you know? And that's what people, like, what even before they caught him, that was all people wanted. Like, the people on the right wanted desperately for it to be a leftist. The people on the left desperately wanted him to be a Groyper right-winger. And I was just sitting back thinking, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his political persuasion is, because radicalization, dehumanization can happen at any point on the political spectrum. And if we're using this death to continue our tribal hopes, and all we care about is using this killing for our own political purposes, then we're totally lost. And we've once again just let these algorithms, let this tribal political climate divide us up in ways where we've totally lost our humanity. And it's just really been highlighted for me in the wake of this, and just seeing the totally different responses. I'm going to go through a couple things right here. I'm not going to go through too many of these posts. I could have 20 tabs open right now or more with things I've seen the past few days of just that exemplify to me how far tribalism has gone, how these algorithms are putting us into these camps and making us think such horrible things about each other. But this is one of the ones I saw here. This guy basically asking Trump for permission to start civil war and kill leftists. But just, that's not even the part I want to focus on. Listen to what he says about leftists in general.
I woke up today to thousands of views and likes on my last video. So keeping with the traction, let's try to get this video in front of Donald Trump, in front of President Trump, excuse me. Sir, you took the same oath as millions of veterans of this country. Over 13 million veterans in this country, most of whom are conservative. We took the same oath to defend our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These leftists are our enemies. This is no longer left versus right. This is good versus evil. You have, give or take, 3 years left. If you call for a civil war, the conservative veterans in this country will take our country back from the evil left Nazis who have destroyed our country, who mutilate our children, who rape our children, who coddle pedophiles. They don't even call them pedophiles anymore, they're minor attracted persons. This is good versus evil.
This man's algorithms, and this has happened to so many people. I'm just using this as an example. You see this rhetoric before the shooting. You know, this has been the case for years. You hear this rhetoric from people on the right who are inundated in these right-wing echo chambers that people on the left are pedophiles. People on the left are child rapists. They groom your kids. They protect pedophiles. And I won't even go into the whole hypocrisy angle of Trump, the Epstein files, all that. Forget about that. Let's focus on the point that this man's algorithms have inundated him for years, and it's been the case with so many people, of all this false bullshit information about people on the left, about liberals, about, you know, this whole minor attracted person fraud. There's nobody on the left who considers minor attracted people to be some valid identity. This is something that is pushed as part of an anti-LGBTQ agenda to make you think that it's all under the same bubble of this evil, you know, sexuality cult or whatever that you think is happening on the left, where, you know, it's all part of the same like pedophilic culture. And it's horrible, it's disgusting. If this man had any left-wing friends, if this man wasn't so in his information bubble, he would know how stupid and bullshit and disgusting it is. But at the same time, I can empathize with him because I know the type of content he's consuming. I've seen so much of it throughout my own life, whether it's come across my feed, whether I see other people in my life consuming it themselves or being fed it. But I know these echo chambers. I've seen these echo chambers. I've seen the stuff the algorithm is feeding him. And to a certain extent, I can't blame him for feeling that way. I do think if this gentleman was ever seeing this video, I know he wouldn't, but if he could take a step back out of his echo chamber, go make friends with some left-wing people, even not make friends, just go talk to them, go meet them for who they really are. Step out of your echo chamber, watch some left-wing content instead of some right-wing content, watch some centrist content, but just meet and talk to other people. I feel like he could eventually deprogram himself and see that these lies he's been fed about the entire left, the entire Democratic liberal establishment, being these child groomers, pedophiles, child rapists, like all this shit, it's obviously wrong. It's obviously a way that he's been hypnotized and brainwashed to hate his fellow Americans, to hate his fellow human beings, to get wrapped up in this tribal mindset. It's divide and conquer. But there's so many people wrapped up in this way of thinking. You have Matt Walsh, a very prominent conservative activist, who after this assassination of Charlie Kirk says, Charlie tried to have conversations with you on the left and you killed him for it. And this is, I'm just using this, again, I could have had 50 posts doing this, but this is emblematic of the rhetoric coming out of the right now. The entire left is responsible. You on the left, you killed him. You're killing us in our churches. You tried to kill our president. You celebrate Charlie's death. Now that one, there are people on the left who are celebrating his death. As someone on the left, I think it's gross. I think anybody doing that needs to stop. It's anti-human. It's, there's almost never a time where celebrating death is merited. I gave this example last video, but if someone literally on the level of a Hitler-like figure gets killed and you celebrate, I understand that, but I also think it becomes a slippery slope, because where do you actually draw the line of when it's okay to celebrate or it's okay to not? Hitler is an example that 99% of people should be able to agree with. But once we start talking about even like other modern figures like Benjamin Netanyahu, I think he's a horrible human being. I think he's committing a genocide. I think that he's responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, injuries, and ruining people's lives. But again, it's just this slippery slope with, okay, how many heads of state are responsible for deaths at a systemic level? How many people in the bureaucratic state are responsible for deaths? How many people in the capitalist chain of production? Like, it's this slippery slope to where if you just want to be a humanist about it, just have the principled stance of never celebrate death, all right? And especially when it comes to a pundit, even if you thought he had disgusting opinions, even if you disagree with him, anybody celebrating Charlie's death, I don't agree with. But the point is, what Matt Walsh and what conservatives and what a lot of right-wingers are doing is talking about this broad left, like blaming it on everybody. And this is only done for, again, political purposes, rhetorical purposes, and people are being fed this stuff in their algorithm to condition them to hate all left-wingers, hate all Democrats, hate all liberals, hate all progressives, see them as violent, as murderers, based on this one act of an individual that we don't even know yet if he was of the left, if he even did this from some political ideology, or if he was just an attention seeker who wanted to do something that was going to make national headlines and cause disruption in society. Maybe he's like the Joker from The Dark Knight. He just wants to see chaos and doesn't even care about ideology one way or the other. We don't know, and everybody acting one way or the other like we know this guy's intentions is being so irresponsible. And it's just continuing and leading to more degradation in our social fabric. This type of rhetoric is so dangerous, is so gross, using this death for the political purposes in this sense, even though, yes, it was a very political assassination at its core, even if we don't know the ideology yet, just the fact that he was a political pundit at a political event. It is a political moment, but using it in this way to just talk about you on the left in general, you killed him. It's dangerous, it's disgusting, and I guarantee that in the past, when we've had right-wing people commit political terrorism, if people on the left were to say that the entire right was responsible for it, people like Matt, people like Ben Shapiro, people like Alex Jones, people who are now blaming the whole left for this murder, if we had done that when a right-winger has committed political violence, which has happened countless times in the past decade or more, they would say that's ridiculous. I'll give you a concrete example. When I think in 2017, someone in Montreal or somewhere in Quebec went into a mosque, killed a bunch of worshipers, and people found out that he consumed a lot of Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, etc. When people blamed Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson for those deaths, they said, hey, we didn't tell him to kill anybody. You can't just say the right wing, these right wing commentators are responsible for someone else's actions. We didn't advocate violence. And yet, and I'm sure Matt Walsh would have agreed with that, but yet when political violence happens against someone on the right, without even hesitating, they go and blame the entire left, say that everybody's responsible for it on the entire other side of the spectrum. And the hypocrisy there is impossible to ignore, and just showcases that in principle they know that you can't blame an entire side of the political spectrum. You can't blame the commentators, the voters on the other side for an act of violence against your side, because when there's an act of violence against the other side, you say it's stupid for people to blame you. And I would agree, but let's be consistent here. It goes both ways. If someone on the left commits political violence against the right, you can't blame the entire left for it, and vice versa. I mean, it's dangerous, it's disgusting, and it's leading to a worse political environment for everybody. And even Erica Kirk, I don't want to, go too hard on her because she's grieving. She just had a horrible loss, but she's kind of having this same type of rhetoric. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. You have no idea what you have just unleashed across this country and this world. Like this post says, who are these evildoers? Who are they? All right. As far as we know, there's one shooter. Maybe it's part of some bigger conspiracy. I myself, trust me, am very rarely going to believe the official narrative, and I think there's a lot of possibilities of other actors who might be involved in this. But as of now, we don't know. We know this one guy has been caught, is alleged to be the shooter, was turned in by his father. Apparently he confessed to his father. That's all we know. We don't know anything. And people making these sweeping accusations about what they have done, what you have done, these generalizations. I assume she's also talking about the left or Democrats or, a certain ideology or segment of the population. Look, I get she's grieving. I don't want to go too hard on her, but I just think this is such an irresponsible statement, especially when all eyes are on her. And you have Stephen Miller. Now, it's not surprising he's doing it because, and I don't want to go too hard on him because in a video where I'm talking about political rhetoric, I do want to kind of be more careful myself and not fall into the same traps of tribalism. But Stephen Miller is quite a uncaring individual when it comes to certain groups, especially the other side of the aisle, immigrants, etc. So it's not surprising to hear it from him, but he's saying the same type of thing. That he's saying that the last message Charlie Kirk sent him was a call to dismantle radical left organizations fermenting violence across the United States. Now, what you have to ask yourself, if you know Stephen Miller, especially if you're on the right, you might think about it differently. But if you're not on the right, think about who Stephen Miller is. What to him is a radical left organization, all right? It's not just going to be these communist Antifas. It's not going to be like actual radical organizations. It's just going to be anything left-wing, anything democratic. And again, it's just really dangerous to kind of use this moment to just fully go after an entire side of the political aisle. The divide and conquer has never been more heightened. The way that algorithms have penetrated and brainwashed us all has never been more highlighted. It's dangerous, it's scary, and we all need to do our part to try to step outside of it. This is a point for me where I am definitely going to be a lot more careful going forward about demonizing the other side as a whole. I will focus on policy. I will focus on practical subjects where there's great deals of disagreement, but sweeping generalizations about the other side, stereotyping, anything that is just an increase in tribalism, I'm going to try my best to stay away from because I think it's only damaging to our society, to our humanity. We should all, at the end of the day, see that we're all humans. We should all try to have some base level of love, appreciation, respect for each other, even if we want to live in different types of societies, even if we have different values. Let's recognize we're all humans. We're all trying to do our best. We may have different beliefs about what a good, healthy society looks like, but tribalism is good for nobody. Let's stop letting ourselves get divided and conquered. Let's break free of these algorithms. I know the past few days have made me feel like I need to get the hell off Twitter as much as possible. I need to get off Instagram. I need to stay off of these websites as much as I can because the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, and other owners of social media platforms want to profit off of our division because we're much more likely to engage with posts that enrage us than that make us feel happy. That's a big reason why they push hateful, rage-baiting content to both sides of the aisle. But also, they want to divide us so they can conquer us, control us. We need to stop letting that happen. I'm also not going to let this stop me from going after what I believe to be disgusting, authoritarian, fascist moves from the Trump administration itself. But I am going to refrain from just saying, if you're a Trump supporter, you're a fascist. If you're a Republican, you're a fascist. There's certainly a segment who support everything Trump is doing and are aware of it, and maybe some that we've even seen who would gladly call themselves a fascist. But going forward, I'm going to focus just on the actions of particular actors, of particular governments, particular regimes. I won't hold back on my commentary of them, but any generalizations, tribal language, just wanting to blame the right for everything, I'm done with it. I hope that other people on the left will join me, and I hope that those on the right can do the same for the people on the left, all right? I don't want to kill you. I don't want you dead. I hope you feel the same for me and other people on the left. Let's lock arms, let's debate our disagreements, but let's not want to freaking kill each other. Let's learn to live together. Let's have healthy political disagreements. Let's acknowledge that politics is a dirty and uncomfortable game, and only one of us can really get our way at the end of the day, or we can compromise. But there's certain issues like the abortion issue, etc., where compromise doesn't really work because it's either, you're pro or anti-abortion. That's just an example, an easy classic example. There are issues where there is no compromise, but let's compromise on issues where we can. Let's come together on issues where we can, like the fact that we should all be a hell of a lot more angry at the billionaires, the wealthy corporate and political elite than we are at each other. That's one thing we should all agree on is, understanding that those at the top are a lot more responsible for our problems than each other. And then where we do have these disagreements, where we can't compromise, let's learn how we can still live together despite these really existential differences. But that's all I wanted to talk about today. These algorithms are killing us, and we need to stop letting them. Get offline if you can. If not, make sure you're not just getting inundated in your bubbles. Step outside, build community, understand there's more to life than the internet. As much as we're all getting subsumed and sucked into it more and more, let's fight back. I think the most radical thing we can do, let's go to our local community center. Let's go and explore our hobbies. Let's go to social clubs. Let's meet people in real life. Let's talk to them. Let's build community in our local areas, in our cities, in our towns, in our counties, in our states, in our provinces. Let's come together as human beings and stop letting these oligarchs divide us, conquer us with these algorithms, their other tactics. That is, at the end of the day, how we're going to win.